what's been going on isn't working. It isn't working, not just that it's not working a little bit, it's not working at all. And in fact, as we find, it is the exact opposite of working.
Yes, that was Charlie Freak saying that, and he said that quite a few years ago, but he doesn't seem to be around anymore. But then he was saying rather a lot. But I think it's probably when the BlackRock family bought YouTube, and YouTube completely changed, because we used to be able to sit here for 3 hours live and have hangouts about Flatty, but we're not allowed to do that anymore. We're not allowed to say anything really that much. But one tries as best as possible, hopefully not going outside the realms of whatever YouTube has. But this is very surprised. Well, I'm not overly surprised. What it is that I've been playing a few hangouts, and I have more where I'm having hangouts with what we would have called big YouTubers in those days when we were allowed to talk about what we wanted. And in there I had this hangout with Jay Dreamers, and I was so happy that we'd got this hangout with him, and we had a few more hangouts with him. But over a bit of time I noticed he was changing, but his life was changing. I think with a girlfriend, house, writing the book, the whole thing. And, you know, he's got quite a few subs compared to me, although I had more on the channel that they took, and I was on the way up, so God knows where I would have been now if they hadn't touched me. But what it is I can't, you know, there's a lot of comments. I put the video out on BitChute, and they were calling him all sorts of things, and they didn't like him at all. And in the chat room last night when it was playing on a hangout, somebody left a comment saying that basically, well, it's on the comment on that hangout. And yes, I do not know him now, and maybe he's changed. But when we had this hangout, he was a nice guy. That's all you see on here. So what I was hoping was that even if people thought, oh my God, G-Dreamers, oh, I know how I feel about him, or whatever's going on, would you please just listen to this, so many minutes of him explaining this place. When I was younger, I felt just like that wherever I'd been, it was full of love. We had some telepathic communication, but maybe we didn't have to speak. It was in our minds. We never spoke it in words, but we spoke it in words in our brain, which is just incredible, isn't it? But it was like that. You understood it in your brain. You weren't speaking words, but you were definitely looking at a person. I've had it in spiritual things where I'm looking at someone and I know what he's saying to me and he knows what I'm saying to him, but we're not talking. That's a mind thing. But anyway, just on this hangout, we start talking about, well, he starts talking about this stuff. And I just wondered, for anybody that's prepared to watch this video, what have they had experiences like this? Because it doesn't mean I'm any better or worse than anyone else, but I am very sensitive, and a lot of people don't notice how sensitive I am. And even if I might not look like I'm paying full attention, I hear everything. But sometimes there's so much going on, I need to work it out, and then it might come to me an hour later what it all was about. But I know something's going on, I just can't work it out. I just might look a little bit different to what's really going on. But people don't realise how sensitive I am. I know when people like me or not. I know when people are angry. The whole thing, I know. Maybe everybody else does, but I feel it. I know how and even they're going, oh, of course I like you. And I think, bloody liar. You know, whatever it is, I sense these things, just the opposite sometimes of what people are saying to you. Anyway, I just would like you to listen to this video just for the words. Yeah, this video was done, I don't know, maybe 2000, I said 2018, but it could have been even earlier than that. And just listen to what he's saying, and does anybody else experience these things that he's talking about? Anyway, let's just listen to that part of the video.
That kind of goes along with what I've been telling people in these chats, and that you don't know the words that you speak because we spellbound and spellbind ourselves and each other daily on a daily basis, nonstop, because we don't understand or comprehend the words that we're saying, even with just regular words broken down.
I agree. And another thing is, the more people study and research and they continue on, the more they become very, excited about speaking in a different manner as well, right? Like the most popular one that I always come across is when people say, I understand. Now everyone says, I overstand. I overstand that, and they're so excited. And it's so, it's almost cute. Watching humanity grow like children, they get so excited about something and want to use it all the time. And but the thing is it's still words, it's still utterances, it's still a representation of something that's not the actual thing, which is why I believe that in the beginnings of things we were closer together, we were one, we were attached. All of the beings in this particular realm, well, I'll just use the word telepathy. Okay, it's the closest thing that we have in our word system that I have to describe it, even though it doesn't accurately describe it. But we had a form of telepathy where we were linked to one another, and we felt what one another was feeling, and we could sense the smells and what was being conveyed and the feelings and the direction and the communication. It was all felt between one another, and there were really no need to utter and talk and put it outside of ourselves to go through a conduit to reach somebody else. It was already instantly known. All I had to do was all you had to do is open up. That's all, really. And so I feel like we live on this pendulum. Okay, one of the universal laws is the laws of cycle, and essentially everything happens over and over and over and over again, and it's cyclical. And as a part of that, at the top of the pendulum, we had this form of telepathy where we were linked and we understood one another in many different ways, more than just, you can hear the words in my mind or whatnot. There were no words in my mind. There were feelings, there were pictures and experiences and things of that nature. As we got further and further away from that, we came to where the language that we came up with is just broken down. What we tried to do is we tried to convey the pictures in our mind, the experiences that were happening in our minds, within us, in our energy, and we tried to write that out, to draw pictures of it, which is a better way of communicating than drawing the symbols that we have today. But as that broke down into this pyramid of what we call the languages around the world, we get to the bottom of that pendulum. And at the bottom of the pendulum, it has nowhere else to go but up, which means inevitably we're going to return to that form of communication where we instantly understand and we know. And I feel like many people can tap into that today. It's known as the ether around us, the energy, the Akashic records. People like Edgar Cayce. I don't know if you guys have ever studied or heard of Edgar Cayce, but he was a quote unquote prophet of like the early, I want to say the 20s in the 1900s. And he was, according to my research, he was just an average farmer, church-going Christian, and some things happened to him, and he was able to tap into what he referred to as the Akashic records. He was able to access information about people from around the world, and honestly, it scared him. And it scared him. He was nervous to do it each and every time. Even wondering if this information was coming from a satanic source or whatnot. He was very worried in his waking life when he was conscious of things. But he would go into these trances. He would lay down and go into these trances, and people would ask him questions, and he would essentially he said that he was traveling, right, spiritually or energetically. He was traveling to this place, this Akashic library, to access these records, this hall of records that contain all of this information. And really, he wasn't going anywhere. He was already there, just like you're already there. And he just realized it. you know, but his conscious mind had to link with his subconscious and give him something he understood so that he can experience it.
Is this the guy that's also known as the sleeping prophet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so Edgar Cayce, he was able to access the Akashic records, and that's just a name. That's just a name, you know. I'm not a big fan of using names or labels or logos or things like that, but it's just the energy that connects us all. There's information everywhere.
I wanted to jump back 1 minute. When you were talking about we had telepathic abilities where we were able to convey emotions, was that along the same lines as being empathic or empath?
Yes, it's like that. Being empathic is like I feel like if you're sad, I'm sad. You know what I mean? But it's not I'm sad because I'm experiencing your same sadness. That would be a deeper level than empathy. Empathy's a wonderful tool, and I think that we should all be much more empathetic. But this is more like I'm literally sharing in your experience, and because of that,
I agree with you. Of us on this panel are pretty sensitive people and understand what you're talking about. We'll connect.
And for very empathetic people, or empathic, I should say, for people who are extremely empathic or in tune, you could say. Have you guys ever seen the X-Men movies?
Yeah.
Or anything?
Sure.
Has anyone not? Okay. All right. So one of the characters of these X-Men mutants, right? And this is all just metaphor for reality. One of the characters is Professor X, and Professor X is his mutant power is his psychic ability, but he can amplify his psychic ability by putting on this headset that they call Cerebro, and then he can sense pretty much every other person in the world. He can tune into the other mutants, he can tune into the human race, and he can sense them. Those of us who are beginning to trust in our connection to the all-permeating energy, there are times when not only can you choose to tap into that and you can sense things that are hard to describe, and you're not sure what it is, and it's because you haven't had a lot of practice in doing so, but sometimes it comes to you. Sometimes the beings of the world come to you energetically. It's a little hard to explain, but sometimes you can feel overwhelmed because all of a sudden you feel, I want to say you realize, but it's really you feel so many of the things that are around, and the connectedness with so many things. And sometimes it comes in the form of these waves of emotion. Sometimes it's very blissful and happy, and you're really connecting to all of those energies out there that are so supportive and loving and caring. But then sometimes it's like you're grief stricken, and you can feel the world is dissolving away and falling apart. You can feel that the pendulum is coming to its lowest point, and you can feel the hatred and the negative energies out there as well. And it almost makes you want to cry. You know, you just want to break down and cry for no reason whatsoever. People might not even realize it. Much of the time, many of us can become overwhelmed and we don't know what's wrong. You know, we're just sad. We're just depressed out of nowhere, and we just feel so bad, and it's like we can't describe it, but this is what's going on. Subconsciously, your energy is so powerful, it's reaching out to the rest of the world, and you're feeling what's going on. And so we can be very, we wear our feelings on our sleeves, and we wear our emotions on our sleeves. And our emotions can be changed because we're so connected with those around us that we pick up on that energy. Our energy changes and fluctuates based on the energy that we are touching base with around us. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, makes sense. Because I remember being younger, and I would talk about some of these things these emotions and empathic, and I'd get told, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing to worry about. You're overthinking." So they, they're building walls in my mind. We all build walls in our own mind to block all that stuff, and so we can't grow from there. Rather, we're blocked, and we have no windows or doors. The seats are open.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you're overthinking. You're expanding is really what it is. I mean, you're already everywhere. Your energy is already everywhere, but you have this point, what people refer to as a point of consciousness, right? And I mean, where are you in the body? You guys can see me right now. Where am I? Am I just right here? And how big is it? Is it big? Is it a size that I can comprehend with my physical brain? Well, whatever is here is able to expand. We're taught to think that we're here. This is the limit of you. Your energy, what you define as you, cannot go outside of the boundaries of your physical body, your physical skin, which keeps locked in your soul or your energy or whatnot. But in reality, what it is you're expanding, and your energy actually is all around. My energy is all around me in this sort of egg shape. Okay. It's a sort of blob of energy that goes around me, and that blob of energy, that egg, it fluctuates, it breathes, it goes in and out, and it can grow, it can get bigger and bigger, it can reach out, and that's why if someone's in your face, if somebody steps into your space and they're invading your space, you feel it energetically. You can close your eyes and you can be uncomfortable because someone is so close to you.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely. I've been able to find my way of seeing the expansion and the empathic or maybe even the Akashic records, because I get information downloaded, but I can't find anywhere when I go to research it. So I'm like the sleeping prophet. Am I actually getting real knowledge, or am I just imagining? But I've come to where I started to live a living synchronicity. And there's a couple of things that have happened, including you here today on this panel. It took a few weeks and even a month for the circle to complete, but yeah, my life basically lives in synchronicity. I'm in a synchronistic lifestyle, and that's how that's how I've learned to recognize these energies ebbing and flowing.
Well, don't ever let anyone allow you to think or trick you into thinking that, oh, you think too much, you're overthinking this or that. When you experience synchronicities, when you experience the deja vu or anything that's out of the ordinary like that has you shaken, excited, shaken, like almost maybe even worried or whatnot, like is something surreal is happening to you, what's the word I'm looking for? Hold on to it.
Yeah, try to experience it on a deeper level. Tap into it.
Yes, allow it. Allow yourself to be in that moment and to experience it and to feel it out. Remember how it feels, because that's a part of this interesting game that we play called life, is the forgetting. We're so forgetful. We forget something. I mean,
how do we change the world? How do we put an end to all the perceived evil in this world? There is only one place to start, and that is within oneself. It opens up to a whole new perception. So many people in this Gregorian calendar year of 2025 will have a wonderful experience, but there will probably be a greater number that have a less pleasant experience. It is purely down to having an internal pole shift on how you see things, whether you see them in the negative, in the positive, or whether you can be between the two and see the contrast between the two, in the same way that you can distinguish hot water from cold water and so on. how does this all work? I suppose the easiest way to explain it is to consider, at this very moment, while you are listening to this commentary, how many thousands upon thousands of televisions are being broadcast through the air? How many text messages are going between devices? How many emails are going between different computers? And yet, can those 5 external senses even detect them? Only a particular device to decode whatever frequency that signal is on. It doesn't, I'm trying to think of the words here. It doesn't negate the fact that they are here, even if we're not consciously aware of them with the external 5 senses. Another way, perhaps, to explain it is to visualize 2 bar magnets and how they will pull together. From this, you can also see that 1 and 1 doesn't always make 2, but 1 and 1 can still make 1. Because if you have 2 bar magnets and they pull together, you still only have 1 north pole and 1 south pole on one much longer magnet. But the key question to it, and it's something that the external 5 senses can't detect as such, although visually you can see the result of 2 magnets coming together. And most people will say, oh, it's the magnetic attraction of one magnet to the other one. When in fact it is the complete opposite. It is the 0 point of the magnets where there is no magnetism. Therefore, depending on the strength that can be measured of those magnets and their proximity, not due to the magnetism, but purely down to there is nothing energetically in the way between those 2 center points of dielectric. So when we put this into the practical terms of what we can call life, this same principle can be applied, and it sort of neatly sort of expands on what the word was made flesh really means. Because you'll notice in that biblical passage, which I believe is the Gospel of John, the introductory first chapter, the word was, in the beginning was the Word was God, and the Word was with God. Notice all past tense there. And the Word was made flesh, so it's already happened anyway. But it doesn't say that the Word was externally vocalized. So what actually is the Word? The Word can be the dielectric. It can be the thoughts in our minds. But as soon as you start thinking and go down this route of there's something I wish to achieve, but, and then whatever comes after it, I can't afford it, it's too far away, it's too cold. Objective fact that would come through has been subjected to an interference pattern that we have created from our minds by the conscious mind trying to go out and seek problems that are not there to try and solve. They are just illusions, they are just perceptions in the given moment that the conscious mind is programmed to see negative, a challenge that needs to be overcome. But such things can be overcome by visioning the end result that you wish for. And provided it is done in a benevolent way, not in a self-serving way that would harm another, it will come through, it will happen. I say this from a place of experience because this is how I live my life. I have no income, I have no job. 2 months later, still in the same location, and yet I'm still able to put food on the table, I'm still able to feed the cats, I'm able to buy tobacco. My needs aren't great, but there is an unlimited supply of the universe to draw on, and it is simply by watching every thought and not putting them into the negative, because it really does come down to where the energy goes, where the focus goes, or where the attention goes, the energy will flow. So if the energy is flowing towards I can't, I haven't got, or any of those type of things, or I don't know if I can do this, any of these doubts that the mind will create, that is sufficient to stop it coming. There is also a requirement, because you're healing yourself, so there's a requirement to become a doctor, in the sense that you are healing. Not healing lots of other people, which you would call patients, but healing by having patience, not practicing. Because if you're practicing, you haven't perfected it. But it is, like everything else in this reality, it is subject to time, depending on what you're trying to vision and you're trying to manifest. Depends on the enormity of it. And of course, who knows the time scales of these things, the measurement. I suppose in time science could come up with some measurement of, say, magnitude, based on how much feeling did you put into the law of assumption, which is you've already got the thing that you desire, and you deny what the external senses are showing, which in a way, you're not denying that there are radio waves or emails or things whizzing through the air, but they're not detectable. So the word became flesh. Something to do with the word. Is it going to vocalize it? Is it going to put a disturbance into the ether of a negative approach to something and all the reasons why you can't do something? Or is it going to, shall we say, pray in secret? Keep it to yourself in the mind. Don't broadcast it outwardly, and just watch things unfold. Depending on what it is, it may take a matter of minutes. It may take maybe 2-3 years. I don't know the time scales of such things. What I can tell you from an experience of doing it twice is it took me just 6 days from a position of having no funds available to being able to buy a new cell phone, or to buy a second-hand, a pre-owned cell phone the first time, as that one had started to develop faults. It needed replacing. I was able to go out and buy a brand new cell phone. Not going with the brand names or anything, but it turned out in the run-up to this, I was asked by somebody else to go, and they gave me the money and said, can you do this shopping for me with anxiety? And this particular make and type of phone is what they wanted. I saw how it works, and I thought, well, that's plenty good enough. So it cost £90. I'd gone from repeating the exercise, and the second time ending up with a brand new phone, the one I'm recording on this now, which is now about just about 2.5 years old, so it's been very good. Everything is finite, and this will need replacing, so we'll do it again. Consistent pattern of being able to do it in 6 days. Unlike this reality where it takes 9 months to create a baby, for example, or whatever other species, there are known measurements of time. But when we're dealing with this unseen, we call it the hand of God in action, nobody knows the appointed time is the saying that comes to mind. But so long as you hold true to that feeling, you deny what the external senses are presenting to you as it's not possible. Just hold true to visioning that the end outcome, remembering the future, as Neville Goddard calls it, and it will follow. It's that dialectric rather than the magnetism. That is the key to manifestation. By extension of this, it's often said that the television is all lies and films tell the truth. So consider the Matrix film, where it's up in basically like an eggshell in the sort of liquid. I would say, and it feels right to me, that it is actually human energy that is powering this entire reality. On that same pattern, so wanting it all to stop, all the perceived evil in this world, I would suggest that the world is a stage, and what we're actually dealing with is the script writers who are continuously offering scripts for us to take a multitude of different ways. Anything from you find yourself in the street, you overhear a conversation, you're triggered by what one or the other person says. There is an invitation to take part and play a character and in a little drama. This is where the free will comes in. This is where it pays to recognise that it is a world stage. You are an actor or an actress on that world stage. We all portray or like to portray a certain image of ourselves to the external world, so we are all acting in that sense anyway. So it comes down to being a very discerning actor or actress and very carefully reading the presented script and then saying to oneself, do I wish to take part? Do I wish to play a part in this scene or this drama? I feel it is far better to write your own scripts or overwrite the existing scripts. And in the same way that a chef, which is a chief, will take a set of ingredients and create an individual cake that is all of their own blending of all the different ingredients, we can do that with ourselves in how we project ourselves out into the world. So draw on any of those archetypes. Take the whole spectrum of what would be perceived as their good or evil side. Blend those mythical characters together and be your own. Whilst there is a collective reality, there is a sovereign being reality. Now, if you're a sovereign being, you can create your own reality within this collective reality. And if you master that, you can walk in the knowledge that there is nothing in this external world that can actually harm you. I feel it will come down to very much like the scene in The Matrix where the agent Smith, and I forget the names of the other characters, fire these little metal projectiles at Neo, and they just stop. And they hover in mid-air and then just fall to the ground. Imagine that in the sense of that is your aura that you have built up, that is radiating out because it's coming from the heart space rather from the conscious mind space. The conscious mind in many ways is the adversary that is adding verses of I can't, or we better not do that, or I don't know what that's going to be like, because it requires crossing the threshold, stepping into the unknown, coming out of the comfort zone. So we continue to expand, we continue to grow, and we become the best versions of ourselves. The postscript to the main voicemail message. When you have that change of polarity, that internal pole shift, what also opens up is a new perception of heaven and hell. The heaven is the place that you find yourself dwelling in, and how you feel and how you enter the external world around you, which is balanced in that whilst you are in this state of gratitude and feeling fully confident that the universe really has got your back and nothing can harm you, you also have to witness how many others around you have not found this and are still going through the process of being their own worst enemy through having those negative defaults. So there is an aspect that is very painful to see and to witness, but at the same time you can remain detached from it, because each of us as an individual can only find this by going through experiences. In the same way you could read 100 books on how to drive a car, but until you get in a car and you actually feel and go through the experience of what does it feel like to steer the wheel, is it heavy, is it light, what's the brake pedal feel like, what's the accelerator feel like, all these type of things. What does it feel like to be able to do a controlled stop, to be able to accelerate the way really fast, to learn to master it and drive economically, because it's going to cost you money if you keep going down heavy on the throttle, of course, and the wear and tear on the vehicle. But you're never going to get that from just reading about it in a book. I like to use this analogy because it comes down to going through the experience individually. We can all describe what something is like, but there is no substitute for going through the experience itself. That is when you truly know, when you go through the experience.